close over here. Okay. All right. So we're going to be talking about Letcher County corruption. My name is Taya Adams, and if I could get this to cooperate, we'd be a lot better off. Okay. So in September of 2024, District Judge Kevin Mullins was fatally shot in his chambers by former Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins. Steins has been charged with first-degree murder and murder of a public official and has pleaded not guilty. The case has drawn intense media attention, prompting prosecutors to request a change of venue due to concerns about finding an impartial jury. Hold on. Okay. So, as I said, I'm Ty Adams, and I am one of many victims of the sex ring that has been and the corruption here in Letcher County. Lots of us have come forward. We were coerced into sexual acts with Mullins and others in positions of power. I've done some interviews on Court TV and with some other podcasters. Taybiz TV, Hillbilly Crime is covering the story a lot too. She's got if anybody isn't subscribed to her over on YouTube, go over and give her a follow there. Okay, so I want to get back over here to this though. I'm just going to give you like a basic rundown of what's going on, and then we're going to take a deeper dive into the psychology of it, of coercive control, and how such a thing like this can happen. So I'm just going to read this out loud. So let me see here. I can't get it to. It's not wanting to go. There we go. Okay. Following Mullins' death, disturbing allegations emerged suggesting that the judge may have been involved in a secret sex ring operating out of the courthouse. Multiple women, including myself, have come forward claiming that they were coerced into sexual acts with Mullins and others in positions of power. Adams described a culture of fear and manipulation, saying they made you feel as small and degraded as possible. And it was consensual, but we were so young and they used it against us. Audio recordings and witness testimony suggest that Mullins' chambers were used for sexual favors in exchange for leniency in legal proceedings. One woman claimed to have seen video of Mullins having sex with a girl in his office. These claims are part of a broader investigation that also implicated a former deputy sheriff, Ben Fields, who was convicted of rape and sodomy of a female inmate. It wasn't just one inmate either. There was 3 victims there that came forward and many more who did not, due to fear or, them still having control over their lives, or some are still locked up. Sheriff Steins, who had fired Fields after the civil rights lawsuit was filed, was deposed just days before Mullins' death. His defense team is now fighting to keep the trial in Letcher County, arguing that moving it would deny him a jury of his peers. Meanwhile, prosecutors argued that the intense publicity and the emotional weight of the case make a fair trial locally impossible. This case has shaken the community of Whitesburg and raised serious questions about the institutional accountability, abuse of authority, and culture within Eastern Kentucky's legal system. So this case is one of the most disturbing and complex examples of systematic corruption, abuse of power, and psychological unraveling in a small town American justice system. So let's break it down into key layers. The murder of Judge Kevin Mullins. On September 19th, Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins entered Judge Kevin Mullins' chambers and shot him multiple times. 8 rounds in total, 7 of which were fired while Mullins was already on the ground. The killing was captured on surveillance video. This wasn't just a murder. It was the unraveling of a long-standing friendship. Steins had served as Mullins' bailiff before becoming sheriff. Whether that's a friendship or not is still yet to be determined. It seems to me that most people say that they weren't all that great friends, and that, just from what I know, it doesn't seem, I don't know. It says they had just had lunch together just hours before the shooting. Stein's defense claims that he was in a state of psychosis. Jail records show he was combative, required pepper spray, and was prescribed antipsychotic medications like risperidone and ketamine. His attorneys are pursuing an insanity defense. So the psychological breakdown and legal defense. Stress triggers. Steins had just been deposed in a civil rights lawsuit involving his former deputy, Ben Fields, who was accused of coercing women into sex in exchange for leniency. The deposition occurred 3 days before the shooting. So the defense's strategy, Stein's lawyers argue that prosecutorial misconduct tainted the grand jury indictment. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied, y'all. His mental health evaluation should be unsealed to support dismissal and bond motions, and the trial should remain in Letcher County to ensure a jury of his peers. The prosecution stance is the Commonwealth wants the trial moved due to intense media coverage and community bias. They argue that both Mullins and Steins were elected officials, making impartiality nearly impossible. The alleged sex ring in the courthouse. Accusations. Multiple women, including myself, Sabrina Adkins, and Jennifer Hill, who passed away, and there was another one too that's going to remain unnamed for now, claimed that Judge Mullins ran a coercive sex for favors operation from his chambers. I was introduced to wild sex parties by Mullins, where women were paid for sex in exchange for leniency in court or protection from CPS. And they would use CPS against us a lot of times to keep us quiet and keep us in control. They would remove our children and give them to the people that abused us. So that's a real problem here, and hopefully soon we'll be able to dig deeper into the CPS thing. Hello, Diamond in the Sticks. I'm glad y'all are here. I'm not really paying attention to the chat, but just know I recognize y'all, I see you, and I love you, and thank you for being here and for your support. Okay, so one of the things that I had said in one of these other interviews, and something that I've thought about a lot over the years, is how he just holds my entire life in his hands. Like, whether I get to keep my children, whether I go to jail, whether I have the money to pay the bills this month. They wanted to make you feel as small and as possible so that they could take your power away. So there is evidence about this stuff. There's a lot of victims who are holding evidence and waiting for the appropriate authorities or appropriate avenues to release it, because evidence tends to disappear, and so do the people that have it. So, but what we do have is audio recordings from a 2002 investigation that suggests Mullins was seen on video having sex with a woman in his chambers. The surveillance cameras were installed in the courthouse after the lawsuit against Fields, but not in Mullins' chambers until later. I'd like to know why he wasn't investigated then whenever they took that deposition. Why did they not do something about it then? Or all the multiple times that other people have come forward and tried to report this shit. All right, Ben Fields, deputy at the center. Charges and conviction. Fields was indicted on multiple felony charges, including rape, sodomy, and tampering with monitoring devices. He pled guilty to third-degree rape, third-degree sodomy, tampering with a prisoner monitoring device, and second-degree perjury. He got 6 months in jail and 6.5 years on probation. Filed by Sabrina Adkins and another woman, the suit alleged that Fields used his position to coerce sex in exchange for removing ankle monitors and avoiding jail time. Steins was then also named for failing to supervise Fields. So, but not the jail. I mean, even if you're on house arrest, you're still an inmate. So, isn't that PREA? Anybody know? Anybody got the answer to that? Why was nobody else looked at in all of this? All right. Community fallout and cultural context. The case has shattered trust in the local justice system. Allegations of the brothel and the courthouse systematic abuse have led to widespread outrage and disbelief. I and others have described a culture of silence and complicity, saying the whole town was doing it. They're swingers. It was just normal. People didn't see anything wrong with it. Or the ones that did or didn't agree, had some sort of moral compass, were usually kept quiet due to fear. And, maybe they had their own dirt that they were trying to cover up. And they were afraid that if they brought up somebody else, that it would shine light on their own dirty deeds, So, Court TV has aired hearings live. National outlets like News Nation, Brian Enton interviewed me, and Law and Crime have covered the case extensively. So what is coercive power? Let's learn a little bit here. Coercive power is the ability to influence someone's behavior through threats, intimidation, or manipulation. It's not about persuasion or mutual respect. It's about instilling fear or dependency so the victim feels that they have no choice but to comply. Why it works in small communities. In places where everyone knows everyone, coercive power thrives because of social proximity. Victims often rely on the same institutions or individuals for legal, financial, and emotional support. Limited escape routes. There may be few alternative resources, making it hard to seek help or to speak out. Reputation control. Perpetrators can easily damage a victim's credibility or social standing. And we all know that the retaliation is real. Intergenerational silence. Abuse and manipulation may be normalized over generations, creating a culture of complicity. So the psychological mechanisms at play are fear of loss. People in power may fear losing control, status, or influence. To protect a position, they resort to domination, often under the guise of protecting others. Internal security. Coercive individuals often struggle with self-doubt. By controlling others, they mask their own vulnerabilities. Manipulation of trust. In small communities, authority figures, judges, sheriffs, pastors, are often trusted implicitly. This trust can be weaponized to coerce victims into silence or compliance. Enforced compliance versus voluntary cooperation. Research shows that coercive power leads to antagonistic climates. People comply out of fear, not respect. In contrast, legitimate power fosters reason-based trust and cooperation. The slippery slope of authority. The slippery slope framework in psychology explains how coercive power can spiral. It starts with influence, and that becomes manipulation. Manipulation leads to dependency, and dependency results in loss of autonomy. Victims may feel that they're making choices, but those choices are shaped by fear, shame, or survival instincts. So, breaking the cycle. To dismantle coercive power, expose the imbalance, shine light on hidden dynamics, empower victims, restore agency and voice, and rebuild trust. Shift from fear-based control to mutual respect. This isn't just about justice. It's about healing a community's psychological wounds. So, yeah. And that's as far as I got on this project today. I was in the middle of doing this, and I found something really interesting on X. I've got to show y'all. Let me see here if I can find it. It's more victims, new victims have come forward. And they have videos up. You need to go follow Nosy Wren. Here's her profile. I don't know if I can get it up there or not. Let's see. Nosy Wren, Nosy Wren, Nosy Wren. There it is. Nosy Wren. And she's got lots of stuff on here about Letcher County. Some other victims of Michael Clark, our wonderful preacher man, who likes to circulate pictures of his pecker out to women who are in vulnerable positions. She's got a lot on him, and some messages from family members of Kevin Mullins acknowledging that he was indeed a dirty man, that he was not the best person. So I want to encourage everybody to go check that out. So that's the rabbit hole that I dove down, and I guess I will call it for now. And this was mostly just a test, I guess, to see if I can get the Rumble working to stream to YouTube and different things at one time. And I think that we have been successful. So I'm real excited. And now I'm going to see if I can get somebody to come on here and talk to me. So I will probably be back on here later, or maybe after Hillbilly Crime. Y'all need to go watch Hillbilly Crime every day. Like, she's always got something good to say. So talk to y'all soon.